Yeah, I felt like until a 16 seed beats a 1 seed, then I don't need to go visit the 16 seed. So congratulations on that. That's an awesome feat. So congratulations again. So what I'm here to talk about is obviously cybersecurity and some of the implications of that, some of the things that I think are interesting in that area, and hopefully you'll agree with me in that. In order to start this talk off and sort of motivate the topic, I want to show you something that is a video. It's sort of a dramatic reenactment of something that we do virtually every day in a place we call the IBM Cyber Range.
Over 500 million Americans unknowingly had their devices hacked last year.
Listen, at the end of the day, everything is hackable. Think about how that exposes the average user. Bottom line, as threats continue to evolve, security teams find new ways to fight back.
Yes, sir. I completely understand, sir. Thank you. Just got off the phone with the FBI. I think we have a situation.
Hey, guys, are you seeing this on the firewall?
All right, team, we have a threat that's just been validated. Can you throw up a Class C block on that firewall? We want to test something. Yep. Yeah, I see it too. How many machines are beaconing?
Hold on, we're isolating the IP.
Where's this even coming from?
Well, as we said, Amy, they look to be the victim of a major data breach from a very sophisticated cybercrime group. It's hard to say if the hackers are still in the network. As of right now, we really don't know where the attack is coming from or who's behind it. So we've talked about the impact on the financial sector and Wall Street, but what about...
All right, everybody, let's go, let's go. It is out there. We need to make this a permanent block. So let's go, let's go.
Where the hell have you been? I've got a report on one line and a reporter on the other. We need to get...
I'm on it. I need some answers.
James, come on. Come on. We got 60 seconds. You ready to go?
Honestly, guys, it doesn't get much worse. And from what we can see, it looks like they actually made changes to some of these financial records Now, the ramifications from this are going to hit every industry.
Well, Brian, thanks for breaking this down today.
Thank you.
And you're on. In 3, 2.
We're dealing with a lot of uncertainty. Now, what I can tell you is that we've got a fantastic team that's working around the clock to resolve any issues that arise. And as soon as any information comes up, I'll be glad to give that to you in real time.
Okay, so there you go. That's, like I said, is called the IBM Cybersecurity Range. It's in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The reenactment you saw there, we take customers through that exercise virtually every day. We've got a backlog of customers who want to go through that. All the way down to the interviews that you see. It's a test of their preparedness in case of an incident. And you can see what kind of drama goes through this. And I've gone through one of these exercises myself, and it's interesting watching the dynamics that happen there. You start to learn very quickly that there's a lot more involved than just the technology here. There's a lot of processes and a lot of psychology and a lot of other kinds of things that you'll see how people react under pressure. But if you want to make sure that you're ready for a real world exercise, for the real thing, you have to do these type of exercises. So this is something I think is interesting that we've done. And all of that set that you saw there, even though those were actors, that's actually the place where we take them through and do these things. So about cybersecurity in general, what do we see happening in the space? I think, of course I'm biased, I think this is the most interesting area of IT that you can be in. It's one of these things that will never stop being interesting because we're never going to have an end to the supply of bad guys. They seem to keep coming, and coming. And as we put more and more important things on IT systems, then there's more and more incentive for the bad guys to go there. So this is kind of the jousting match that we will never finish. And it's always an arms race in this regard. You can see some of the things that we're facing here. 20.8 billion things that will need to be secured by 2020. Well, a lot of those are going to be Internet of Things, IoT devices. With IoT, essentially everything becomes a computer. And if you follow the security space, you know every computer can be hacked. So if everything becomes a computer, every computer can be hacked, guess what the conclusion of that is? Everything can be hacked. That's the world we're moving to. So I don't mean to sound overly alarmist. What I want to do is have the good guys focusing on this problem so that we can do the kinds of things that we need to do preemptively before we find out about the next disaster. You'll hear more about IoT in another talk, so I won't touch on that. Tim Hahn, one of my colleagues, will be talking in that space. Some other things that we see, the loss of personal information, privacy breaches and the like. We're expecting 5 billion records to be lost. There's only 7.6 billion people on the planet, roughly, so some people obviously are having multiple records lost in these cases. IBM X-Force, which is the name of our security research organization, just produced a report that came out this past week that talks about how we've had 1 billion records lost just in 2017. 1 billion. Just basically due to misconfigured servers, largely in cloud environments. One of the things about cloud is it's easy to configure, but it's harder to secure. Anybody can go with a credit card and spin up an instance and start doing interesting, cool stuff, but is it secured? Well, it could be, but in many cases it's not, because there's no requirement to make it be as such. $8 trillion lost to this, so we're talking large money. The organizations that say, I can't afford to put security in place, will end up paying it out the other end. And then they will find a way to afford it because there's not another option. Another big threat, if you want to think about it this way, if you're running an IT organization, it feels like a threat that's looming, is the regulatory compliance issue. And one in particular that drops on us all next month is the GDPR, the Generalized Data Protection Regulation, General Data Protection Regulation from Europe. And a lot of companies in North America are sitting around saying, well, but we're not in Europe, we can ignore this. And they're mostly wrong. Because all that's required for you to be subject to GDPR regulations is that you have information about a European citizen. And therefore, if you have that, imagine someone comes from Germany to be on vacation here in the US for a week, and you happen to be in the travel industry, and you don't even have, maybe you're a hotel and you don't have any hotels outside of the US, but now you have a German citizen staying at your place. Now you've got European data, you're subject to GDPR, for instance. I'm not a lawyer, so you talk to your lawyer if you want to find out for sure, but that's the generalized notion here. This now, and GDPR requires a lot of things that in the US we haven't been doing in terms of data protection. The ability for users to have the right to be forgotten, to have their information still turned over to another person, but still maintain control and allow them later to say, but I want it deleted in all these other places. A lot of things that are going to be really challenging for business models as well as IT organizations on this side of the pond. And you see a number of other things. I think for students, one of the most, maybe the most interesting statistic that I'm showing up here right now is this next one, the skills shortage. 1.8 million jobs that we're projecting that are going to be a shortfall. That means 1.8 million cybersecurity experts that we will need by the year 2022, and they just won't be there. And we can't turn those out fast enough. Even knowing right now that that's what the shortage is going to be, we can't produce cybersecurity experts with the level of experience and knowledge and so forth that's going to be needed in that case. So that's a looming shortage. That means we obviously need to train up more people and get more people working in this space, but we're not going to be able to get there with that alone, which means we're also going to have to work a lot smarter, which means we need systems that will help us and systems that will be a lot smarter, which leads into the whole notion of cognitive computing and AI, and applying that kind of technology to the security space is also going to be critical here in this space. And then all our customers run into this last one, and that is they've got a proliferation of tools from a lot of different vendors, and for the most part, they don't all work together. For the most part, they're individual islands that do individual things that are all collectively or individually useful, but collectively they're a mess. So one of the things we've been focusing on at IBM is trying to create an ecosystem or an immune system for security. Ecosystem is the term I prefer here in this case because what we're talking about is a system of components that work together that are designed to address the vast majority of the IT security space. And we can't do everything for everyone, no one can. But we're doing more of this, a portfolio that's broader than anyone else in the industry, and it's not really even close, to be honest with you. If you look at the different areas that we're working in, endpoint security for desktops, laptops, servers, mobile devices, we're looking at things like identity and access management, which is an area I've specialized in for a number of years, which continues to be very important. That continues to be a challenge for us for decades, and it's still a hard problem to solve. Application security, attackers are moving up the stack more and more, realizing that we've gotten better at securing the networks, so move up the stack to layer 7. Start attacking the applications themselves and looking at attacking the data payloads. So we've got to do a better job in that space. The databases, where all of this data is ultimately kept, we've got to do a better job of encrypting that data. If I have a breach and the data was encrypted well, as long as the keys didn't go with it, then I can probably be okay. But we're finding still too many cases where data is kept in the clear, it's not being encrypted. And you can just keep going around this circle and see all the different areas that need to be addressed. And at the center of all of this is an intelligence that integrates all of this, that pulls information from all of those, that provides security analytics. If you think about the term that people was really in vogue a few years ago, big data. Okay, big data, but applied to the security space. Gather all the security information I can in my environment at the operating system, application layer, database layer, network layer, security component layer, all of those different components, bring them all together and create a situation where more data isn't just more data, because then we just drown in a sea of data. Now, an approach that a lot of people are popularizing these days is the notion of data lakes. Gather all the data, put it in one place, we'll do analytics against it, and magic will occur, and we'll get insights out of it. It's theoretically possible, but a lot of people haven't thought about how much effort, how many data scientists I have to hire, and how much customization I'm going to have to do in order to make that happen. So what we've tried to do is create a solution that is designed to gather that stuff up, look at it from a security purpose-built component, not just a generalized data analysis tool, but something that's designed to look at this from the security context and be able to have a situation where more data equals more insight, not more data equals more data. So in other words, not a whole bunch of data lakes that turn into a data swamp, but a data store that leads me to who's hacking me now. That's been the focus here. So these are the kind of things that we're working on today. This stuff is all generally available. I work with customers all the time throughout North America predominantly, and these are the things that we're working with those customers on these days. I want to talk a little bit about where we see security, where it's been, and where we think it's going. So what I've talked about up to this point is where it is right now. Well, where has it been? It started off in this sort of moats and castles type of metaphor, where we thought about security largely in terms of the good guys are in here and the bad guys are out there. So job one is to make sure that the bad guys can't come in and mess with the good guys. So how do we do that? We create a barrier. We create isolation. In other words, like in medieval times, we build thick, tall walls to keep the bad guys away from the good guys. And that's how it worked until we started realizing commerce has to occur. So we've got to open up a few windows and doors. We need to put a drawbridge so that some people can get in and out of the castle and over the moat. And the more of these drawbridges and more windows and doors that we open up, the more we start to realize that what we have is not a castle. What we have is largely a set of windows with a little bit of bricks sprinkled in between. That's what our networks largely look like today. Because the perimeter of corporate networks, of organizational networks, is now not so easily defined. For instance, where is the perimeter of the IBM network right now? Well, you know what, you're looking at it, because it's right here in my pocket. It follows everywhere I go, and that's true of most organizations. The perimeter is not well defined, so how many moats can I dig and still expect that to be effective? It's not possible, not practical, to scale this and just think about things in terms of perimeter security only. So we still have to do firewalls. We still have to do the kinds of things to create isolation in different zones and networks. I'm not saying that stuff goes away. I'm saying it's necessary but not sufficient. So what do we have to do beyond that once we realize that just safeguarding the perimeter was not going to be enough? Well, then we started coming out with tons and tons of tools that will help. Okay, we'll look at this layer, we'll look at that layer, and so forth. But then that created the problem that I just talked about previously, and that is a whole bunch of tools that are collectively a mess. So the next generation of security was about creating integration amongst all these proliferation of tools. And that's where we are today, and that's what we've been working on to a great extent. And by the way, each one of these generations doesn't replace the previous one, they're additive. So we don't throw away the firewalls, and we don't throw away the tools that I'm talking about in this next generation, just because now we're starting to move into the third generation, which we think is going to be built around cognitive and collaboration and cloud. So cognitive and AI-type technologies. How can we take that? How can we take the ability to collaborate, and how can we leverage cloud services to create better security, not worse security? And that's been the challenge that we're looking at. So talk a little bit about the AI space and cognitive computing. So right now, today, we have lots of security tools that are designed to look at structured data. I can take the data, the alarms that come in from my firewalls, that come in from my routers, that come in from my access control systems, that come in from the log management systems that I have. I can take all of those logs and I bring them all into one place, and we have tools that can process that stuff. We have stuff like IBM's tool in this space is called QRadar, and it eats this stuff for breakfast. And there are a number of other products out there in the industry that do the same thing. That's good news. The bad news is that roughly 80 to 90% of the security information that would be available to us is not in structured form. Computers know how to read the stuff that can be predictably put into a structured format. If we know that the first 5 bytes are going to be this and the next 7 bytes are going to be that, and so on and so forth, we can parse that, we can correlate, we can do all kinds of stuff. That's an easy problem for us to solve. But what happens when we're starting not to talk about a firewall event or a syslog, but now we're talking about a research paper? Take one of those and feed it into a security tool and watch it choke, because it doesn't know what to do with that. Humans can read that. We know how to interpret that, but that requires a different level of intelligence, a different level of understanding in order to process unstructured data in natural language. So that's what we've been doing with Watson. And you'll hear more about Watson as we go throughout the day, but one of the things that we're doing is applying that kind of technology in the security space so that we go out and scan the web, and we're looking for these research papers, the wikis, the security blogs from trusted sources, analyst reports, all of these different kinds of feeds, and sending that into an intelligent engine that understands, comprehends, reasons, and then based upon that corpus of knowledge that's built up, and you can see how we do the scanning of this, you can see it's continuous. So there are certain sources that we're taking on a continuous basis, others that we're bringing in on periodic basis. all of this is adding to the understanding that we are built up in this cognitive security corpus. And from that, now we have a system that we can ask questions of. So I could take information from my network and say, these are the circumstances that I'm facing at the moment. I want to feed that into this expert and have it tell me, is this something or is it not? I think, for instance, I have a system that has been hit by malware, but is that right? It's behaving in an odd way. I'm going to send that information from my security information management system. I'm going to send it up into the Watson cognitive security engine. It's going to take a look at that. It's going to look at it in context of all the things it's learned, and it's going to look for patterns. And then it's going to say, oh yeah, I think what you have is not a single event. I think what you have is a campaign. What you have is this particular malware that has just recently been published, a report about this, that, by the way, there's not, you wouldn't necessarily expect to find this in structured information. This might have been a proof of concept that someone wrote about in a security conference. Could have been, slides, whatever. And we took that and said, what we see happening in your network right now is what looks like was in this paper. And this is, and by the way, if I apply that pattern across the larger ecosystem of your environment, I see that you have not one infected workstation, but you may have hundreds. And these, by the way, we think this was ground zero. This was probably the first one that was attacked, that was infected, and here's where it downloaded the malware from, and so on and so forth. Now that's the kind of investigation a human could do, and it would take probably hours to track all of that down. That's the kind of investigation that we could have Watson for cybersecurity do in a matter of a couple of minutes. So when I talked about a security skills gap of 1.8 million, you're going to need a lot more smart people, but we're also going to need a lot more smart systems that enable those people to do a lot more. So AI is not only about artificial intelligence, it's about augmented intelligence. It's about augmenting the capabilities and becoming basically a force multiplier for the humans that are involved in these systems, allowing them to do more and spend less time digging down in the weeds. Because one of the things we know about humans is that we suffer from bias. We tend to find what we're looking for. If I've seen this event and that event occur, and it always, if I've seen this 2 or 3 times in a row and it always resulted in the following, well then I'm going to start looking for that sort of thing in the future, which is something that helps us. We build that sort of heuristic in our minds, and it helps us as a time saver. But it also might cause us to miss something. Well, so that a cognitive system isn't going to suffer from that same bias. It's going to be able to look at the information objectively and take all the new stuff in. Think of it as having a security expert that reads the web 24/7, never gets tired, never forgets, never complains, and it's always available for a consult. That's how this thing works. Really cool stuff. And IBM's the only one in the industry that has anything like this in the security space, because we're the only one that has Watson. Think about all the other security vendors that are out there. None of them have this kind of thing. Everybody's talking about machine learning and AI. What they're not talking about is processing unstructured data like this. That's a very unique play here. Other things we're talking about doing, I won't have time so much to talk about the cloud aspect, but the collaborative aspect I think is interesting. We don't go this alone. So you can see we have a thing called the IBM Security App Exchange, where we have literally hundreds of apps from IBM and our partners who are adding capabilities to this security ecosystem. In some cases, these are our business partners. In some cases, they're our competitors. But they have a tool that our customers are likely to have in their environments. So if we can provide an integration, let's do that. And we have this app exchange that's available. Any of you can go take a look at it now if you like. And if you had the QRadar tool or the other tools that it's designed to download to, you can download a lot of these apps. Many of them are free that you can download. For instance, we make one available for user behavior analytics that's totally free. And it will help you identify who are the top 10 riskiest users in your environment. It's impossible to go out and look at every single user and see what everyone's doing every day, but you could reasonably ask an IT organization to go out and analyze the top 10 riskiest users and find out why. Why are they hitting this list? And then we could go focus our efforts. And obviously, we're gonna do a better job if we can focus our efforts than if we're just trying to hit everything. And then the other piece over there that you see animated is the IBM Security Threat Exchange. You can do X-Force Exchange. Just do a Google on IBM X-Force Exchange and you'll find this. It's a real-time display showing attacks around the world that we're seeing. We're seeing and constantly updating the IP reputation of essentially every place on the internet. So we're updating this and we're having a history of this. So you could click on one of those and drill in to see the IP and understand why we gave it the risk score that we did. If it was high risk, why? And how long has it been risky? And what are the things that you might want to do as a result of that? For instance, maybe I disallow all logins from high-risk IPs. That's a lot smarter way than just saying, did you give me the right user ID and password? Because the user ID and password that you enter might not be yours. But if I know you're coming from a known bad actor, then I might not want to let you in even if you give me the right credentials. So that's, again, a smarter way of trying to sort of use our competitive edge, our technological edge, against the bad guys. X-Force Iris, this is a group that does incident response. So one of the things that we work with customers on when they've been hit, like for instance with some of the recent, this past year, ransomware was really big. So a lot of customers needed help with recovering from a ransomware attack where their data now has been encrypted. What are they supposed to do? So we can do proactive planning in advance so that you have the backups in place and you don't fall victim to this. We can also do the emergency response. It says, okay, our hair's on fire now. Somebody please bring the fire extinguisher. We can do either of those kind of things. Also, we have a team of ethical hackers, X-Force Red, and these guys will basically, on contract, try to hack into your system, try to hack into your application, try to hack into, in some cases, an IoT device. I've been told that they were under a contract one time to hack into a toilet. Yes, toilets will be internet connected. When I told you IoT means everything is a computer, I meant everything, okay? So I'll let your imagination go with that one, and I'll just leave it at that. But I definitely want all the toilets in the world to be safe. We'll say that. And then just to close, this is a picture talking about the cyber range that you saw in the video when I kicked things off. The cyber range, like I said, is a very interesting place to go. If you ever have a chance to visit, don't turn it down. Very cool environment, and it's an interesting place to see not only the technology, but also the human element and how we do incident response. And that's going to be a big key as well. We find that organizations that cost the most in a data breach, one of the primary things that costs them money is their lack of incident response. If they don't have a good plan in place, it ends up costing them multiple factors more in order to recover. So those are the kind of things we're doing. I hope you find it interesting, and if I can answer any questions, I'll be hanging around here over lunch. Please come and look me up. Thank you.